From the ashes of his father's legacy, a legend was born. In 336 BC, a 20-year-old prince from Macedonia ascended the throne, his name, Alexander. But he was not destined to be just a king. He was forged to become the conqueror of the known world. With Greece barely held together after years of chaos, Alexander's first act was unity through dominance. He crushed the rebellious city of Thebes, sending a message to all: resistance would be met with ruin. Then, like a storm crossing the Aegean, he turned his eyes east, toward Asia Minor, where the Persian Empire awaited. With a map in one hand and a sword in the other, Alexander began his campaign, not just to win battles, but to shape history itself.
In the year 333 BC, the fate of an empire trembled on the battlefield of Issus. Young Alexander, not yet 30, faced the mighty Persian king Darius III. With brilliant strategy, he flanked the enemy, forcing Darius to flee in chaos, leaving behind his royal family. But Alexander, unlike most conquerors, treated them with dignity. He showed the world that leadership was not only forged in battle, but in honor. From there, he swept south, claiming the Phoenician cities of Arados, Byblos, and Sidon with minimal resistance. But then came Tyre, an island fortress thought to be unbreakable. Refusing to retreat, Alexander ordered a causeway to be built across the sea. Stone by stone, wave by wave, he brought the war to their gates. After a brutal 7-month siege, Tyre fell. And beyond, in Egypt, destiny awaited. There, Alexander was welcomed not with swords, but with open arms. And in the Golden Sands, he carved his legacy, founding the eternal city of Alexandria.
In the autumn of 333 BC, destiny met strategy on the narrow plains of Issus. King Darius III, commanding a massive Persian force, believed he had cornered a young, impulsive Macedonian king. But Alexander, with unmatched foresight, had already anticipated Darius' route. He maneuvered his troops through harsh terrain, catching the Persians off guard. As dawn broke, Alexander's companion cavalry surged forward like lightning across the Panaris River. Darius, encased in gold and guarded by immortals, watched his flanks crumble. Macedonian phalanxes crushed the Persian center, and panic set in. The mighty Darius, once confident, fled the battlefield, leaving his family and treasure behind. It wasn't just a victory, it was a message. The world had a new master strategist, and Persia's reign would never be the same again. After securing Phoenicia, Alexander set his eyes on the impenetrable island city of Tyre, a jewel of naval power in the Mediterranean. Refusing submission, Tyre prepared for a long siege. But Alexander, never deterred by impossibility, ordered the construction of a massive causeway across the sea. For 7 grueling months, Macedonian forces built, fought, and advanced inch by inch. The sea turned red with resistance. Eventually, siege towers reached the city walls. With fire, steel, and relentless determination, Tyre fell, a symbol of Alexander's will. From the ashes of Tyre, the army marched south toward Gaza. Across scorching deserts and ancient trade routes, Alexander's ambition knew no rest. Gaza awaited, defiant and fortified. But history had already decided, nothing could stop the march of an empire in the making. After a relentless march through Phoenicia and Gaza, Alexander reached the ancient land of Egypt, not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. Welcomed with open arms in Memphis, the Egyptians saw in him a divine figure, sent by the gods to free them from Persian rule. But the true test lay deep in the desert. With a handful of loyal followers, Alexander journeyed westward to the Siwa Oasis, a sacred place believed to hold the voice of the gods. Days of scorching sun, endless dunes, and blinding storms challenged the march. Yet he endured. There, in the temple of Ammon, the oracle greeted him not as a mere mortal, but as the son of Zeus. The prophecy was clear. Alexander was no longer just king, he was divine. This moment would change how he saw the world, and how the world would remember him.
The plains of Gaugamela tremble. On one side, Alexander's disciplined army waits in formation, outnumbered, yet fearless. On the other, Darius the Great commands the might of Persia. The fate of an empire hangs in the balance. At the sound of war horns, the Macedonian cavalry sweeps from the flank. Alexander leads the charge himself, his eyes locked on Darius. The battlefield explodes into chaos. Spears clash. Horses scream. The center begins to collapse. Sensing defeat, Darius flees, his golden chariot racing north, leaving his army in disarray. Alexander's forces push forward, carving through Persian lines like a blade through silk. With the fall of Gaugamela, Persia crumbles. One by one, cities lower their banners. The great capital, Persepolis, burns. And from the ashes, a new order emerges. Alexander now stands as ruler of the known world, from the shores of Greece to the rivers of India. A man once called king has become legend.
The fires of Persepolis lit the night sky, symbol of Persia's fall and Alexander's might. But behind the flames, doubt began to smolder. Alone, he gazed over the empire he had carved from blood and ambition. Below, whispers rose among his weary troops. They had followed him to the edge of the world, but now, they wondered, would their king ever let them return? In 326 BC, Alexander crossed into India through the treacherous Khyber Pass, confronting a world unlike any he had known. Awaiting him was King Porus, commanding mighty war elephants and thousands of fearless warriors. At the banks of the Hydaspes River, the two titans clashed in a thunderous storm of steel and will. But in victory, Alexander showed honor, allowing Porus to retain his kingdom, impressed by his courage. Yet his army, weary and worn, refused to march further east. Reluctantly, the great conqueror turned back, his empire vast, but his ambition unquenched. In 323 BC, as he returned to Babylon, Alexander fell ill. His mighty heart, which had shaken continents, now beat its last. At just 32 years old, the world's greatest general died, leaving behind a shattered empire and a legacy that would echo through time.